News around the Avatar franchise doesn't seem to be letting up anytime soon. If you all remember, if you watched my most recent video where I talked about the Fire Lord Zuko movie that is not going to happen, that was something that relates to what we are going to talk about today. A project that might actually happen instead of just being something that they scrap. Our good friend Caleb Williams at Night Edge Media is back at it again with a story around a potential new Avatar series focusing on the man himself, Avatar Kuruk. We are going to talk about that here today, but first, drop a like on the video. I would really appreciate that. It'll help put it into the algorithm, and I want to get as many Avatar fans in here as possible to talk about this, especially all of you guys who are fans of Kuruk specifically. I know you've probably been waiting a long time for him to get something like this, and it might just be happening, so let's dive into it. So the story around this is pretty straightforward. This is potentially going to be a brand new series, focusing on another Avatar based off what Caleb talks about in this article. I'll link it in the description as always, and also be sure to give him a follow on Twitter, as that is where he talks about all of this and more. Over the last year, we at Night Edge Media have reported on a secret waterbending animated series in development at Avatar Studios. The series had its most recent casting call last summer under the working title Red Thunder. We recently reported that the show's villain is a female water tribe leader. However, all of the characters used secret code names to keep their real character names as secret. Then, just recently, a new trademark has revealed that Viacom has registered the name Avatar Kuruk Waves of Chaos for future use. We weren't sure whether the Kuruk trademark had anything to do with the secret waterbending series we previously reported on. We can now tell you that the Red Thunder series and Avatar Kuruk series are indeed the same thing. The series is no longer under that working title. It's now named Metal Mountain. According to our source, the series was written several years ago and was going to be much more in the vein of The Legend of Korra in tone. However, as we previously reported, Paramount is high on this show and wanted a series that skews younger. Red Thunder was completely overhauled per Paramount's request, and given the new working title Metal Mountain, the series already has a 26-episode commitment and is said to be a much more swashbuckling adventure in an episodic story-of-the-week kind of way. The main female villain will still be the main antagonist under the codename Dila. We were also told an ongoing secondary antagonist will be the Fifth Nation pirate fleet. The Fifth Nation was first introduced in the Avatar Kyoshi novels as a pirate fleet that sails the southern oceans and is comprised of waterbenders, firebenders, and non-benders. They are all led by the pirate queen Tagaka. Dila may be the pirate queen, though we can't confirm that. We were told that Meebs is still a main character alongside Barrow/Kuruk and the future water tribe leader. However, Dila may no longer be his mother, as the studio reportedly replaced an older indigenous actress with a relatively younger one. The entire series sounds very much like a prequel to Avatar Kuruk's story in the Kyoshi novels, since he was already an adult by the time he battles the spirits, as well as the origins of the Fifth Nation pirate fleet. Avatar Studios has yet to officially announce the show, but with the trademark now registered, it could be announced soon. To bounce off that last point made by Caleb, this is something that will happen if you have any doubts that potentially Paramount could axe this show and turn it into a tax write-off or something along those lines. I know all of us, including me, have had a big stink with Paramount as a studio lately with how they have treated this franchise, but I am happy that something like this is getting made if they are on board with Avatar Studios to help support them. There is actually a pretty interesting connection between the established lore of Kuruk as an avatar and what this new series appears to be setting up. The biggest thing to understand is that this doesn't sound like a straightforward adaptation of Kuruk's adult life. This series looks to be positioning itself as a younger, again, as Caleb said, swashbuckling adventure that could show Kuruk's life before the tragic events we know eventually define him as laid out by Caleb in his article. Given he also said that the project has been overhauled into a 26-episode series that is episodic in a story of the week type of way, that also is something that I like. I would really want this kind of show to be on a weekly release and not in the binge format. That is the same way that they are currently going about making the next new series, Seven Havens, that is starting in October. It has 2 seasons so far worth 26 episodes. It could still be up in the air if this Avatar Kuruk show goes on for longer than 2 seasons, and I'd even say the same for Seven Havens. They are in the same boat on that. When it comes to Kuruk and his life, he was the avatar between Yang Chen and Kyoshi, as we all know, and he was born into the northern water tribe, not the southern. He was someone who had a very different personality from many of the avatars we know. He is charismatic, impulsive, competitive, adventurous, and often he didn't really take his responsibilities as seriously as people expected him to as Avatar. I'd be curious to see if that is something that the show explores. In one of Caleb's other recent articles, he made a point that potentially the Water Tribe could be the villains during Kuruk's time, akin to the Fire Nation being the villains in Aang's. That's not confirmed, so take that as a massive grain of salt. But even with that in mind, it does make you think though. How does someone be the avatar to a nation that are the bad guys? I know that Avatar Roku kind of dealt with this in a way later on into his life once Sozin turned more evil, but given we could see it happen with Kuruk as a younger guy, that will change things even more. As someone who is not all that familiar with the rest of his lore and hasn't read the books he's mentioned in, it's hard for me to speak more about it. Out of all the avatars that preceded Aang, Kuruk seems to be the one whose adult life was screwed up the most from a personal standpoint. If you know, you know. We obviously caught a glimpse of it from the original cartoon when we learned that the spirit Ko stole his wife's face. He had a major battle with the spirits when he got older as well. I don't know if this series plans to showcase any of that, but I'm sure it'll all be in the back of our heads while his younger timeline of events is happening. Now, the last thing we should mention is that I'm sure there will be some people who think this show is unnecessary and they could possibly just make anything else. The way I look at it, you don't really know if you truly want something until you get to experience it for the first time. Yes, there's hype, anticipation, and expectations that come with everything, but the actual experience of it firsthand is what will really give you the idea of if you want to continue with it or not. I'd argue out of all the past avatars that we do know of, Kuruk is the one I would prefer they make a show from. Sure, it's another Water Tribe avatar leading a series again, like Korra, but Kuruk is a character that hasn't even been given his own story to tell as the main protagonist. This guy has yet to get his own show, his own novel, his own comic, and has only ever really shown up in other characters' stories as a vision to them. If you go online and look up his references, that's quite literally all he's been used for. I think Avatar characters like Aang, Korra, Roku, Yang Chen, and Kyoshi need a break for a bit. Not to say that they shouldn't keep making stories around those characters, but Kuruk in particular is one that hasn't been given his due based on the past avatars that are confirmed in the lore. As Caleb noted in the article at the end, we could be getting an official announcement of this show relatively soon within the future, and as a pure guess, I would assume it may come out sometime within late 2027, or if we're being more frank with it, it'll come out in 2028 at the latest. We will have to wait and see what happens, but for now, that's what we got. But what do you all think of this story? Is an Avatar Kuruk show something you'd love to see? If so, tell me why and what you want to see be explored in it. If you did enjoy this video and you want to see more, be sure to give it a like, and if you are new to this channel, subscribe and turn on that notification bell. Thank you all for stopping by Uncle Iroh's Tea Shop. I hope everyone here has a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you all soon for more Avatar.